So I'll briefly introduce myself. Hi, my name is Marta. In my background, I have obtained my master's degree from economy program like a million years ago, like really. After that, I worked for IT company at least for a decade. But 3 years ago, I went back to academia and obtained a second master from information system. And now I'm also a PhD student, and my main focus of my research is application of AI in education. So my scope is actually to find out the best way to implement AI to education sector. And I have to say that in Czech Republic, where I'm located, it's still, like science fiction. Many EU countries are really, really far, ahead. So implement something here is really, really tricky because we still are really old-fashioned education system, and we still are sometimes teacher-centered and things like that. So I'm trying to find out, if the application of, for instance, chatbots or pedagogical agents is possible in higher education. And I'm also looking into NLP and automated feedback. You probably know Grammarly, but I'm looking into possibility to get the like instant feedback for your abstract, because I realized that so many researchers have really hard time to actually write down interesting abstract. So that's something I'm looking I'm doing the research now. Okay, so last and not least, I'm also a mom. I have 2 daughters and I have a part-time job. So I'm sometimes super busy. But I have 2 amazing daughters, and what I do in my normal working life is that I'm helping the customers to narrow down their problems. I'm working for AI company, and we are providing tailored, customized solutions for them, and especially for public sector, for the private as well, but for the public sector, like schools, like kindergartens, but outside of Czech Republic. I have to, stress this out. And that's also why I'm here today. I'm passionate about inclusion, and I would like to share some, inside notes. And what I'm not going to do is to, give you a lecture. We already know that I talk a lot, but I would rather to have discussion with you. I'm going to present some ideas, and I would really like maybe hand over the stage to you, listen to your opinion, your stories, and maybe a bit inspire you in your future research. So that's all. I'm not trying to look as an expert, nothing like that. I'm just going to try to, show you some information and trivia about AI and inclusion. So let's share the screen, and hopefully it's going to work. Okay, and this one. Is it visible? Okay, great. Yeah. So about me, you already heard. And I would like to pinpoint some issues. Sometimes I speak with my clients or peers, and it's still not clear who are the clients, in case that you are talking about inclusive design, inclusion, diversity, and so on. So sometimes, even developers think like, okay, it's some random handful, of individuals. It's maybe not even worth to do such a solution for them. It's going to be costly. It's just few people going to use it, but it's not true. If we are talking about the inclusion, we sometimes forgetting kids, millions and millions of kids, elderly. Again, it's the same, because a lot of products which we are using on every single day on daily basis, smartphones, cups, just name it, most likely not designed for kids or elderly. It's basically the scope of people which we are not targeting. and of course disabled people. And I'm not going to go to the detail, but if we think about clients which are disabled, around the world, it's 1 billion people. It's 15% of population, and that's a lot. I mean, in just in US, it's 1/4. Have some kind of disability, and it doesn't really matter. What it could be. Patients which are blind, or there's some partially vision, could be death. Mental health conditions, and so on. And together with the kids and elderly, it's actually enormous amount of potential clients which are deliberately forgetting. But because I don't want to offend anyone in the call, and I'm not an expert, I'm not a trained doctor, I would like to choose a topic which I hope we all can relate, and that's AI and languages. I'm not sure. I didn't ask. Obviously, English is not my mother tongue. If I can ask, how many languages are you speaking? Can you advise me?
Yeah, like basically zero. In the UK, they're really bad at teaching languages. They can speak some Welsh and a tiny, tiny bit of Arabic, but that's about it.
Okay. I think Tia made like 4. Okay. Okay, Mariana? 2. Okay, and can you name them just to make it clear?
Spanish and English.
Okay, and Tia?
Arabic, French, Spanish, English.
Respect. I can speak Czech, Swedish, and English.
Respect.
Let's pretend that I'm fluent in English, okay? Just, don't mind the typos and, my own English words. Okay, but sometimes we think that our language, especially if we are located in Europe, I have to sometimes, stress this. We feel that, our language is recognized. Why? Because we are in EU, we are wealthy countries, and UK, of course, they speak English, and USA. However, around the world, we have more than 7,000 languages. 7,000, mind-blowing. But Siri speaks 21. Alexa speaks 8 languages. Google Translate 108 languages. What does it mean? That we are forgetting about a lot of languages. And I'm not talking about some kind of tribe language in the middle of jungle, nothing like that. Particular languages have, maybe 10 millions of people now talking this particular language, but no one cares. They're located in China, India, Africa. And if you compare, for instance, Slovakia and Finland, 5 million inhabitants, compared to these countries, 10 million speakers easily, we're not translating them. They are not to be found in Google Translate. For various reasons, of course. But imagine, put yourself in their shoes. How does it make you feel when you cannot find your language in Google Translate? When everything around you is in English or nothing. So if you want to not just, find the subtitles for your, that you downloaded some kind of American movie, and you want to have your own translation to your own language, you will not find it. But also, that you want to very easy translate, I don't know, medical documents, or just for the imagination, there's of course war going on in Ukraine, and imagine that Ukraine would be one of these countries, that's 7,000 missing, and they are bringing the documents, some not, and they need to translate them as soon as possible, for various reasons, to go to school, to go to doctor, to open a bank account. But there's nothing, which will help them instantly to translate what it's, written on the document. And that's already, I'm trying to stress it out, the situation that even though that you don't need the translation for your own language. There are millions of people which are struggling with that every single day. But also, every language needs to be alive, to preserve to the future. You have to talk the language, you have to write down the books, you have to use it frequently. What kind of message are we sending to all the speakers of that 7,000 known languages that, it's the same as they will not appear on episode of Star Trek. Sorry, we don't count with you in the future. It's the same. So that's something which I'm looking into. What's the result? So, of course, the translation is not going to be perfect. The NLP work, which is sometimes I call it cherry on the top of the cake of all AI possibilities. It's just not going to be done properly because the data are missing. So even though that the companies around the world are trying to be inclusive, responsible, ethical, and so on, in practice, they're struggling. They're struggling to get the data. Sometimes it's not their problem. Sometimes, their willingness to go, a little bit beyond, it's limited. Everything is about money and time. But of course, it reflects the quality. I have heard the companies saying that, what they can do, everything is about machine learning. We don't have the data. We don't have enough data to train our tools. Yes, but, there's every single speaker which is struggling, from that 7,000, which would like to preserve their heritage, should make it visible. Make the language visible online. YouTube, blogs, just name it. To the point that someone will care. The researchers from their community should bring it up. They should, investigate. So just for the inspiration. For instance, you would speak like Tia for languages, and one of them would be not that known, not that frequent. She is into AI. She has a network of specialists. She could, inspire them to make the research, to make the translator, to create one. It's not such a big deal, to incorporate this hidden language into the world. And I would like to speak also about the inclusive design, because that's what we do in the company where I work. As I mentioned before, we are trying to focus on public sector, and there it's a lot about inclusion itself. Kids, elderly, disabled people, or minorities, which are a little bit struggling, and cannot cope because of some various reasons with the technology which is on the market due to the price or different limitation. So how we see it, it's basically like you would like to come up with a solution, a dish. Imagine cooking, you have a big family dinner, but there's one vegan, there's a meat lover, keto, super diet, kids, and you are trying to please them all, and you can just put random stuff in the slow cooker and, make the magic. It's not going to work. You have to really change your mindset and put everyone's shoes and try to satisfy 99% of the eaters. So that's how the inclusive design works. It's a lot of extra work. It might not get paid. It might not get paid off because you put so much time into the data collection, double checking if it's customer centric, communication with the clients there and back, testing it if it's actually working, validating, testing, and again, and you might come to the market with the product too late because it took so long to please all the stakeholders. However, I truly believe that the organization should, predominantly try to come up with the solutions which suits a lot of people, not just the mainstream, not just the classic middle class, in productive age. Because based on that, we are sending the message to the others. You basically don't matter. We are not making the solutions for you. Wait for some kind of non-profit to make a solution for you, or good luck, keep struggling. And this is not good. No, this is not okay for 21st century. If not, we as a society, we didn't learn from the past, because in the past we very successfully ignored all the kids and all the elderly and perhaps the disabled people. But now, when we are evolving as a society as well, this change needs to happen. And I really believe that organizations, step by step, the big ones are already doing that, Microsoft, Accenture, IBM, but also the startups, that they will, continuously think about not just the majority, but all the streams. How we can ensure that AI is going to be inclusive. I cannot even tell you how amazing it is that it's a call full of girls, I don't think it ever happened, Okay, I can only benchmark Czech and Sweden where I studied, but it was still like 70% guys, 30% girls, I think. And in Czech, it's even worse. It's like in our company, I have one AI specialist lady. The rest, guys. That's of course a problem. We should be diverse, not just the solution itself, but the teams which are creating. How you want to have diversity put into the product when every single engineer is like from terracotta army, same soldier next to each other. Also, transparency is very important, but not just about the solution and how it works, but the finances behind. Education, I think it's education is step in good direction in any field, and teaching and equipping, for instance, countries which cannot afford it, and help them, to climb the ladder a little bit faster. It's super important. And they are, communities which don't have fancy smartphones, don't have, of course, internet connection, fully functioning. Sub-African Sahara, these places are still not well equipped. You might heard the shortcut BIOT. It's like bring your own device. And that's exactly the countries which will so much benefit from inclusive design, because these countries are not equipped. So kids are bringing own laptops, own telephones, because the school system and public sector doesn't have enough money to provide it for them. And of course, the advocacy. And it's not just for the disabled people, but for discriminated people. For instance, of course, you've heard Black movement, we all should advocate for such a things, that it's good to be diverse. It's okay to be inclusive, to work together. And even though that you're not facing such issues as these people, you might not be disabled, you might not be on a wheelchair, it's very good to never forget that even though that you are facing the issue, that you should advocate for them, for people which maybe are not in the room with you, because, for different reasons, maybe they don't have the equipment, they don't have access, that to realize that, and be humble and grateful that we can, work on AI, we can have access, we can have computer, and we can show the humbleness and this when we do inclusive design. That's, you know, the motto also of our company, that we are, even though that we are not facing the issues ourselves, that someone else might. Okay, that was my lovely presentation. And like I said, I talk a lot. And I would really, you know, love for you to you know, just share the stage with me and my lovely voice.